Welcome back. Coinology. The 1 cent coin dated 1976 may look like an ordinary penny at first glance, something most people have held thousands of times without a second thought, but hidden inside this small copper-colored coin is a story that connects American history, economics, metal composition, minting technology, collector psychology, and the powerful myths that drive some coins to sell for unbelievable prices. To truly understand the 1976 1 cent coin, we must slow down and look deeply, because coins are not just money, they are frozen moments in time, struck in metal, carrying the fingerprints of history itself. The 1976 1 cent coin was produced during one of the most important celebratory periods in United States history. The year 1976 marked the bicentennial of American independence, 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776. While most people associate the bicentennial with special designs on quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins, the Lincoln cent continued its familiar appearance, quietly circulating through the hands of millions of Americans during a time of national pride, economic uncertainty, and major changes in coin production. The coin symbol for the 1 cent is simply cent, a symbol that has represented America's smallest denomination for generations. Despite its low face value, the cent has played a massive role in everyday commerce, pricing psychology, and cultural identity. In 1976, even as inflation was rising and the purchasing power of the penny was shrinking, the 1 cent coin remained an essential part of American transactions. From grocery stores to vending machines to pocket change, the weight of the 1976 1 cent coin is approximately 3.11 grams. This weight is extremely important, because it tells us exactly what the coin is made of. In 1976, Lincoln cents were still struck primarily from a copper-based alloy consisting of about 95% copper and 5% zinc, with small traces of tin. This makes the 1976 cent part of the pre-1982 copper cents, a category that collectors and metal investors pay close attention to. After 1982, the U.S. Mint switched to a primarily zinc composition with a thin copper plating, dramatically changing both the weight and intrinsic metal value of the penny. Because of this high copper content, every genuine 1976 penny contains more copper than modern cents, and during periods of high copper prices, the metal value alone can sometimes approach or even exceed the coin's face value. This fact has fueled decades of speculation, hoarding, and misinformation, leading many people to believe that any old copper penny might be worth a fortune. The design of the 1976 1 cent coin features the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a design first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner, Lincoln's profile is one of the most recognizable images in American numismatics. By 1976, this design had already been in use for 67 years, making it one of the longest-running portrait designs in U.S. coinage history. Lincoln's expression on the cent is calm, serious, and reflective, symbolizing unity, strength, and endurance. Above his head appears the word liberty, while the date 1976 is struck clearly to the right of the portrait. Behind Lincoln's shoulder are the designer's initials, VDB, a small detail that collectors often examine closely when checking for authenticity, wear, or minting anomalies. On the reverse side, the 1976 1 cent still carries the Lincoln Memorial design, which was introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. This reverse design, created by Frank Gasparo, shows the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., with such fine detail that Lincoln's seated statue can actually be seen inside the building when the coin is well struck. The words United States of America arch across the top, 1 cent appears boldly at the bottom, and the national motto E pluribus unum sits above the memorial. Although this design may seem ordinary today, it represents a specific era in American coinage, a period when coins were designed to emphasize national monuments and shared history rather than abstract symbols or modern minimalism. The Lincoln Memorial reverse remained in use until 2008, meaning the 1976 cent is firmly part of this long, classic design era. In 1976, 1 cent coins were produced at multiple U.S. mint facilities, including Philadelphia and Denver. Coins struck in Philadelphia typically do not carry a mint mark, while those struck in Denver bear a small D beneath the date. There were also proof coins produced at the San Francisco Mint, marked with an S, which were specially struck for collectors using polished dies and planchets to create sharp details and mirror-like surfaces. The total mintage of 1976 pennies was extremely high, with billions of coins produced for circulation. This massive production number is one of the main reasons why most 1976 1-cent coins are not rare in ordinary condition. Millions of these coins still exist today, sitting in jars, drawers, old piggy banks, and forgotten collections all over the world. However, rarity in coin collecting does not always come from age alone. It comes from condition, errors, varieties, and unusual circumstances. This is where the story of the 1976 1-cent coin becomes far more interesting and where myths about massive values, including figures like $158 million, begin to emerge. In standard circulated condition, a typical 1976 penny is usually worth only its face value or slightly more, perhaps a few cents if it retains strong copper color and minimal wear. Even uncirculated examples, unless they are in exceptionally high mint state grades, are generally valued at a modest premium by collectors. Proof coins from San Francisco can be worth more, especially if they remain in pristine condition without scratches, spots, or handling marks. So how does a simple 1976 1-cent coin become associated with massive values and stories of life-changing money? The answer lies in the world of mint errors, die varieties, transitional planchets, and collector psychology. Some coins become extremely valuable because they were struck incorrectly. Errors such as double strikes, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, wrong metal compositions, or doubled dies can transform an otherwise ordinary coin into a collector's dream. In rare cases, a coin might be struck on the wrong planchet, such as a foreign blank or a different denomination's metal disc. If a 1976 cent were somehow struck on a planchet intended for another coin, it could be worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on authenticity and condition. Another source of high value comes from extreme mint state grades. Coins graded MS68, MS69, or higher by professional grading services can command surprisingly high prices, especially when population numbers are very low. These coins must be nearly perfect, with flawless surfaces, strong luster, and razor-sharp details. Finding a circulation strike penny from 1976 in such condition is extremely rare, which adds to their desirability. The idea of a 1976 1-cent coin being worth $158 million often comes from exaggerated online claims, misunderstood auction headlines, or confusion with entirely different coins. Sometimes a headline about a rare coin sale is misread, and the date or denomination is incorrectly associated with a common penny. Other times, speculative videos and posts intentionally inflate values to attract attention, views, and clicks. In reality, no verified public sale of a 1976 Lincoln cent has ever reached anywhere near $158 million. However, that does not mean the coin has no value or no story. The real value of the 1976 penny lies in understanding what makes a coin truly rare, how condition and errors affect price, and why people continue to search through pocket change with hope and excitement. Coins represent possibility. Every collector remembers the first time they found something unusual, a coin that looked different, felt heavier, or had a strange mark. The 1976 1-cent coin sits at the crossroads of common and collectible, ordinary and extraordinary. Most examples are simple pieces of history worth a cent or two, but a tiny fraction could be worth much more if they possess the right characteristics. The market value of coins is constantly changing, influenced by metal prices, collector demand, grading standards, and economic conditions. What is considered common today could become more desirable in the future, especially as older copper cents are gradually removed from circulation and lost to time. To truly understand why the 1976 1-cent coin continues to attract attention decades later, we must step deeper into the psychology of coin collecting itself, because coins are not valued only by metal and age, but by human belief, scarcity perception, and the stories people tell about them. The penny is especially powerful in this regard, because it is the most familiar coin, the most overlooked, and therefore the most surprising when it turns out to be something unusual. The idea that a tiny coin once used to buy candy or make exact change could be worth more than a luxury mansion captures the imagination like nothing else. In 1976, the United States was dealing with economic challenges that shaped how coins were produced and handled. Inflation was high, metal prices were unstable, and the cost of producing coins was becoming a serious concern for the government. Copper prices in particular were fluctuating, and although the full switch to zinc cents would not happen until the early 1980s, discussions about metal composition were already influencing mint practices. This makes every copper cent from this era, including 1976, part of a broader transition story in American coinage, because the 1976 penny is made primarily of copper. Its color, tone, and surface quality can vary dramatically depending on how it was stored. Coins kept in dry, dark environments often retain a bright red or red-brown appearance, while those exposed to moisture and air may turn dark brown or develop spots. Collectors place great importance on this color classification, commonly referred to as red, red-brown, and brown. A fully red 1976 cent in high mint state condition is far rarer than a brown circulated example, and the price difference between the two can be enormous. Another layer of value comes from strike quality. Not all coins are struck equally, even within the same year in mint. Some 1976 pennies show weak details, especially on Lincoln's hair or the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, while others are sharply struck with crisp lines in full definition. Coins with strong strikes are more desirable to collectors because they represent the mint's work at its best. Then there is the world of doubled dies, one of the most misunderstood and sensationalized aspects of coin collecting. A doubled die occurs when the coin die itself is misaligned during the hubbing process, causing parts of the design to appear doubled. This is not the same as machine doubling, which is common and usually adds little or no value. A true doubled die can dramatically increase a coin's worth, sometimes turning a 1-cent coin into a 5-figure or 6-figure collectible. Collectors carefully examine the date, the word liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust" on Lincoln cents, because these areas are most likely to show true doubling. A genuine doubled die 1976 cent, properly authenticated and graded, would be a major discovery and could sell for a significant sum depending on the strength of the doubling and the condition of the coin. Off-center strikes are another fascinating category. These occur when the planchet is not properly aligned during the striking process, causing part of the design to be missing. A dramatic off-center 1976 penny that still shows the full date can be highly collectible. The more extreme and visually striking the error, the more valuable it tends to be, especially if the coin remains in good condition. Clipped planchets, or a piece of the coin is missing due to an error in the blank cutting process, also add interest and value. These errors are tangible proof that even modern industrial minting systems are not perfect. Each clipped or misshapen coin tells a story of mechanical failure frozen in metal. Another rare but valuable category involves wrong planchet errors. These occur when a coin is struck on a blank intended for a different coin or even a different country. While extremely rare, such errors are among the most valuable in numismatics. If a 1976 1-cent were authenticated as being struck on an incorrect metal planchet, its value could soar into the tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the circumstances. The proof versions of the 1976 penny deserve special attention as well. Proof coins are not meant for circulation, they are specially made for collectors using polished dies and planchets. A 1976 proof cent typically features mirror-like fields and frosted design elements. However, even proof coins can have errors, such as missing mint marks, doubled dies, or cameo contrast variations, all of which can increase their desirability. Condition is everything in the coin market. Two coins from the same year, same mint, and same type can have radically different values based solely on preservation. This is why professional grading services play such a critical role. Coins graded and encapsulated by respected grading companies are trusted by buyers and sellers alike, reducing uncertainty and increasing market confidence. The idea of a 1976 1-cent coin being associated with a value like $158 million often comes from a combination of misunderstanding and exaggeration. Sometimes people confuse pennies with rare pattern coins, experimental pieces, or unique prototypes that were never meant for circulation. These kinds of coins, if they exist and are legally owned, can indeed reach astronomical values because they are truly one-of-a-kind artifacts. When such stories circulate online, the details often get distorted, and the legend grows larger with each retelling. Social media and video platforms have amplified these myths, turning ordinary dates into viral sensations. While this can lead to disappointment for people expecting instant wealth, it also brings new interest into the hobby. Many collectors today started their journey because they heard a story about a penny worth millions and decided to check their own change, discovering along the way a deep appreciation for history and craftsmanship. Market value is not static. What a coin sells for depends on timing, demand, rarity, and presentation. A well-documented error coin with strong eye appeal, certified by a major grading service, and offered at a major auction can attract fierce competition among collectors. In such cases, prices can rise far beyond initial expectations. The 1976 penny also holds emotional value for many people. It represents childhood memories, a time when pennies still felt useful, when coin jars were common, and when small change mattered. This emotional connection cannot be measured in dollars, but it plays a powerful role in why people continue to collect and study these coins. As older copper cents gradually disappear from circulation due to hoarding, melting, and loss, their availability will continue to shrink. Future generations may view coins like the 1976 cent as relics from a different economic era, when metal content still mattered and physical currency played a central role in daily life. Understanding the true worth of a coin means separating fantasy from fact while still appreciating the magic of possibility. The 1976 1-cent coin may not realistically reach values in the hundreds of millions for ordinary examples, but within its small size lies a massive universe of history, errors, artistry, and human fascination, and this story is far from over. There are still deeper layers to explore, including real auction case studies, how to properly examine your own coins, what tools collectors use, and how market trends could shape future values. The penny may be small, but its story is endless. To go even further into the story of the 1976 1-cent coin, we must now focus on how collectors actually search for value in real life, because the difference between a common penny and a special one often comes down to knowledge, patience, and careful observation. Most people look at a coin for only a second before spending it, but collectors can spend minutes, sometimes hours, examining a single cent under magnification, studying every line, curve, and surface imperfection. The first thing experienced collectors look at on a 1976 penny is authenticity and originality. A genuine coin should have the correct weight, correct diameter, correct thickness, and the expected magnetic behavior. Since copper is not magnetic, a 1976 cent should not be attracted to a magnet. Any deviation from this can indicate either a counterfeit or a wrong planchet error, both of which demand further investigation. Surface texture is another critical factor. Original mint luster appears as a soft, flowing sheen that moves across the coin when it is tilted under light. Many people unknowingly destroy this luster by cleaning coins, thinking they are making them more valuable. In reality, cleaning almost always reduces a coin's value because it leaves unnatural scratches, dullness, or chemical residues. A clean 1976 penny, even if uncirculated, will usually be worth far less than a naturally toned one. Collectors also pay close attention to contact marks. These small nicks and scratches occur when coins bump into each other in bags at the mint or during circulation. Fewer contact marks generally mean a higher grade. Because pennies are made of relatively soft metal, they are especially prone to damage, making high-grade examples much rarer than people expect. The edges of the coin can reveal important clues as well. A normal 1976 cent has a smooth, plain edge. Any irregularities, flattening, or unusual shapes may indicate an error or post-mint damage. Learning to tell the difference between true mint errors and damage caused after the coin left the mint is one of the most challenging skills in numismatics. When it comes to real-world auction results, the highest prices paid for 1976 pennies have almost always been for coins in exceptional condition or with documented errors. These are not everyday finds. They are the result of careful preservation, professional grading, and strong collector demand. Auction houses play a major role in establishing market values by providing a public, competitive environment where prices are determined by what buyers are willing to pay at that moment in time. Grading services use a numerical scale, typically from 1 to 70, to describe a coin's condition. A grade of 70 represents a perfect coin with no visible imperfections under magnification. For a circulation strike penny from 1976, achieving a grade anywhere near the high 60s is extraordinarily rare. Even a single tiny flaw can lower the grade significantly. Collectors also study die states, which refer to the condition of the coin die at the time the coin was struck. Early die state coins often show sharp details and clean surfaces, while late die state coins may display cracks, chips, or other signs of wear on the die. Some collectors specifically seek out dramatic die cracks or cuts, which can make a coin visually striking and collectible. The story of value is also influenced by supply and demand. While billions of 1976 pennies were minted, only a tiny fraction survive in top condition or with notable errors. As time passes, the number of pristine examples continues to decline, not increase. This natural attrition can slowly push values higher for the best specimens, even if average examples remain common. Another factor that affects value is registry set competition. Some collectors participate in competitive sets where they aim to assemble the highest graded coins for each year in mint. In these competitions, a single high-grade 1976 cent can become highly sought after, driving up prices far beyond what casual observers would expect. The global reach of the internet has also changed the coin market. Today, collectors from around the world can compete for the same coin in online auctions. This increased competition can result in higher prices, especially for coins with strong visual appeal and solid documentation. At the same time, it has also led to the rapid spread of misinformation, making education more important than ever. The myth of extreme values, such as $158 million for a penny, persists because it speaks to hope. People want to believe that hidden treasure is still out there, waiting to be discovered in a drawer or an old jar. While the reality is more grounded, the possibility of finding a rare error or exceptional specimen is not zero, and that small chance keeps collectors searching. There is also historical significance to consider. Coins like the 1976 cent are artifacts of everyday life during a pivotal moment in American history. They passed through countless hands during the bicentennial celebrations, during a time of reflection on national identity and progress. Each coin has a silent history, a journey that can never be fully traced. Educational value is another reason these coins matter. Studying the 1976 penny teaches people about metallurgy, economics, manufacturing, art, and history all at once. It is a small, accessible object that opens the door to complex ideas and lifelong learning. As the use of physical cash continues to decline in many parts of the world, coins from the late 20th century may take on new significance. Future collectors may view them as symbols of a vanished era, when money had weight, texture, and sound. The story of the 1976 1-cent coin is not just about money. It is about curiosity, patience, and the human desire to find meaning in small things. Whether worth 1 cent or far more, the coin carries a legacy that cannot be measured only in dollars, and still, there is more to uncover. The practical steps of examining your own coins, the specific tools collectors use, the mistakes beginners make, and the ways the market could evolve in the future all remain to be explored. When collectors begin examining their own 1976 1-cent coins at home, the process often becomes almost meditative, because it requires slowing down in a world that usually moves too fast. A simple magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe opens an entirely new universe on the surface of the coin. Lines that once looked smooth reveal texture, tiny imperfections become visible, and design details suddenly feel alive. This is often the moment when people realize that coins are not mass-produced in a perfectly identical way, but are instead individual objects shaped by countless small variables. Lighting plays a crucial role during examination. Rotating a 1976 penny under a single light source allows the collector to see luster flow, surface disturbances, and possible doubling. True mint luster moves in a circular pattern, often described as a cartwheel effect. If this movement is broken or absent, it may indicate wear, cleaning, or environmental damage. Coins with uninterrupted luster are especially desirable, even if they show only minor marks. One of the most common mistakes beginners make is confusing damage with mint errors. Scratches, dents, corrosion, and discoloration can all occur after a coin leaves the mint, and while they may look unusual, they usually reduce value rather than increase it. True mint errors are part of the coin's original manufacture and show characteristics consistent with the minting process. Learning this difference is essential for anyone hoping to find something valuable. Weighing the coin is another important step. A digital scale capable of measuring to at least 2 decimal places can confirm whether a 1976 cent falls close to its expected weight of about 3.11 grams. Significant deviations may signal a wrong planchet error or, more commonly, damage or material loss. Measuring diameter and thickness can provide additional clues, especially when comparing suspicious coins to known authentic examples. Sound is something few people think about, but experienced collectors sometimes lightly tap coins together to listen for differences. Copper has a distinct sound compared to zinc or steel. While this method is not definitive, it can support other observations when something feels off about a coin. Documentation is also part of the collector's discipline. Recording where and when a coin was found, its weight, appearance, and any unusual features creates a personal history that can be useful later, especially if the coin is eventually submitted for professional grading. Coins with a clear story and consistent documentation tend to inspire more confidence among buyers. The grading process itself can feel intimidating, but it exists to bring structure and trust to the market. When a 1976 penny is submitted for grading, experts examine it under controlled conditions, comparing it to known standards. They evaluate wear, luster, strike quality, marks, and overall eye appeal. The resulting grade becomes a shorthand language that allows collectors worldwide to understand the coin's condition instantly. Eye appeal is subjective but powerful. Two coins with the same technical grade can sell for very different prices if one simply looks better. Color, toning, balance, and overall visual harmony all contribute to eye appeal. A beautifully toned 1976 cent with rich, natural color can attract far more interest than a technically similar but dull-looking coin. The market for coins is also influenced by storytelling. A coin that is presented with context, history, and clear explanation often performs better than one listed with minimal information. This is why major auction houses invest heavily in photography and descriptions. They are not just selling metal, they are selling a narrative that connects the buyer to the object. This storytelling aspect is one reason extreme value claims persist. When a story is dramatic enough, it can overshadow facts. The idea of a 1976 penny being worth $158 million becomes a symbol rather than a literal price. It represents the dream of discovery, the hope that something ordinary can turn out to be extraordinary. Coins that truly reach astronomical values are almost always unique, historically significant, and well documented. They may be patterns, experimental strikes, or coins tied directly to major historical events. While a standard 1976 circulation penny does not fit this category, the possibility of rare variants keeps interest alive. Education remains the most powerful tool for collectors. The more someone learns, the better they become at filtering truth from exaggeration. Knowledge transforms disappointment into appreciation and turns casual curiosity into informed passion. There is also a social side to coin collecting. Clubs, forums, shows, and online communities allow collectors to share discoveries, ask questions, and learn from one another. A single 1976 penny posted online can generate discussions that span continents, with experts offering insights and beginners gaining encouragement. The future of the penny itself is often debated. Some argue that the 1-cent coin has outlived its usefulness, while others see it as an essential link to the past. If the penny were ever discontinued, existing cents could take on new significance as relics of a retired denomination. As time moves forward, coins like the 1976 cent may become increasingly symbolic. They represent an era when money was physical, when history passed hand to hand, and when even the smallest denomination carried weight, both literally and metaphorically. And still, the journey is not finished. There are deeper market dynamics, long-term investment perspectives, and personal stories that continue to shape how the 1976 1-cent coin is viewed and valued. When we look at the long-term future of the 1976 1-cent coin, it becomes clear that value is not always about sudden discovery, but often about gradual change. Coins age alongside the people who use them, and as decades pass, their context shifts. What was once common can slowly become scarce, not because it was rare at the beginning, but because time quietly removes examples through loss, damage, and neglect. The 1976 penny is already approaching half a century old, and each year that passes adds another layer to its historical distance. Collectors who think in terms of decades rather than months understand this deeply. They do not expect overnight miracles. Instead, they focus on preservation, knowledge, and patience. A carefully stored 1976 cent today may not feel special, but 50 years from now it could represent an era long gone, especially if it survives in high condition. Economic trends also play a role. The relationship between face value and metal value has been a topic of discussion for years. Because the 1976 penny contains a high percentage of copper, its intrinsic value rises and falls with the copper market. While laws prevent the melting of cents for profit, the underlying metal content still influences how people perceive these coins. During times of high metal prices, interest in copper cents often increases, drawing new attention to dates like 1976. Another layer of complexity comes from generational shifts. Older collectors often focus on earlier dates and classic rarities, while younger collectors may be drawn to coins from their parents' or grandparents' era. For someone born decades after 1976, a penny from that year can feel historical, even if it once seemed ordinary. Nostalgia is a powerful force in collecting. There is also the educational pipeline to consider. As schools, museums, and hobby groups continue to use coins to teach history and economics, common dates like 1976 serve as accessible entry points. A student who learns about the bicentennial era through a simple penny may later develop a deeper interest in numismatics. Increasing long-term demand. Technology has changed how collectors interact with coins. High-resolution photography, digital microscopes, and online databases allow for unprecedented levels of analysis. Varieties that went unnoticed for decades can suddenly be identified and cataloged. It is entirely possible that subtle varieties of the 1976 penny remain understudied, waiting for careful researchers to bring them to light. Market cycles also matter. Coin values, like other collectibles, move through periods of enthusiasm and stagnation. During times of economic uncertainty, tangible assets such as coins can attract renewed interest. While a single 1976 penny is unlikely to become a financial cornerstone, exceptional examples can benefit from these broader trends. Personal stories add another dimension. Many people remember the bicentennial celebrations vividly, and coins from that era serve as physical reminders of parades, fireworks, and national reflection. A 1976 cent found in an old family collection can carry emotional weight that transcends its market price. The concept of value itself evolves. In the past, coins were valued primarily for their metal and purchasing power. Today, historical context, artistry, and scarcity often matter more. This shift allows even modest coins to gain importance as cultural artifacts. The idea of a $158 million penny, while unrealistic in a literal sense for a standard 1976 cent, functions as a kind of modern folklore. It reflects a collective fascination with hidden wealth and the hope that history still has secrets to reveal. Folklore has always played a role in collecting, inspiring people to look closer and learn more. For serious collectors, separating folklore from fact is part of the journey. Understanding why certain stories exist helps demystify the market and build realistic expectations. At the same time, maintaining a sense of wonder keeps the hobby alive. Preservation remains critical. Coins stored improperly can suffer irreversible damage. Exposure to moisture, chemicals, or friction can strip away value. Simple steps like using inert holders, avoiding cleaning, and maintaining stable storage conditions can make a significant difference over time. As collections are passed down through families, coins like the 1976 penny often become gateways to history. A child asking about an old coin can spark conversations about the past, about how money has changed, and about the events that shaped a nation. The market may never assign astronomical prices to ordinary examples, but the coin's worth is not limited to auction results. Its value lies in connection, education, and continuity, and even now, the story continues to unfold. New collectors enter the field, new research is conducted, and new perspectives emerge. The 1976 1-cent coin remains a small but enduring piece of a much larger narrative. As the journey with the 1976 1-cent coin continues, it becomes clear that one of the most powerful aspects of collecting is comparison. When a collector places a 1976 penny next to cents from earlier decades or later years, subtle differences begin to stand out. The color may be slightly richer, the strike slightly different, the surfaces more reflective or more subdued. These comparisons help collectors train their eyes, turning observation into instinct over time. Historical context deepens this experience. The mid-1970s were a period of transition in America, not just economically but culturally. Coins circulating during this time absorbed that atmosphere, passing through hands during moments both ordinary and extraordinary. A 1976 penny might have been in someone's pocket during a bicentennial parade, a family road trip, or a historic speech broadcast on television. These invisible journeys add intangible layers to the coin's presence. Collectors often speak about originality, a concept that goes beyond technical grading. An original coin looks natural, honest, and untouched by artificial enhancement. Original surfaces on a 1976 cent, even if lightly toned, are often preferred over bright but altered examples. This preference reflects a broader respect for authenticity within the hobby. The economics of supply also deserve attention. While billions of 1976 pennies were minted, survival rates in top condition are far lower. Pennies are small, easily lost, and often heavily circulated. Many were exposed to harsh environments, stored in damp conditions, or subjected to cleaning. Each damaged coin reduces the pool of high-quality survivors, gradually shifting the balance. Collectors who focus on quality rather than quantity understand this dynamic. They may own only a single 1976 cent, but if it is exceptional, it carries more weight than dozens of average examples. This mindset shapes long-term collecting strategies and influences market behavior. The role of certification continues to grow. As more coins are graded and encapsulated, population reports provide insight into how many examples exist at each grade level. These reports can influence demand, especially when collectors realize just how few high-grade specimens are available. Education also evolves. Books, articles, and online resources constantly update what is known about specific dates and varieties. What was once considered insignificant can gain importance through new research. This keeps the hobby dynamic and prevents it from becoming static or predictable. The emotional side of collecting should not be underestimated. Finding a 1976 penny and change can trigger curiosity, nostalgia, or even excitement, especially for those who remember that year. Emotion often drives engagement more strongly than potential profit. The debate over the penny's future continues to shape perceptions. Discussions about eliminating the 1-cent coin highlight its symbolic role. If the penny were ever removed from circulation, all existing cents would instantly become historical artifacts, including those from 1976. In this sense, every penny is already a piece of history, waiting to be appreciated. The value of that history may grow as society changes and physical money becomes less central to daily life. Stories of extreme values, while exaggerated, serve as entry points. They draw people in, spark questions, and lead to learning. Even when expectations are adjusted, the curiosity remains, and curiosity is the foundation of collecting. The 1976 1-cent coin sits quietly at the intersection of myth and reality, commonness and individuality. It reminds us that significance is not always obvious and that even the smallest objects can carry vast narratives, and as with any journey through history and collecting, there is always another layer to uncover, another perspective to consider, another connection to make. As collectors continue their exploration of the 1976 1-cent coin, many begin to realize that the hobby is as much about discipline as it is about discovery. Patience becomes a defining trait. Weeks or months may pass without finding anything unusual, yet the act of searching itself becomes rewarding. Each coin examined adds to experience, sharpening judgment and deepening understanding. The idea of rarity often shifts with experience. At first, rarity seems tied only to mintage numbers, but over time, collectors learn that true rarity is more about survival and desirable condition. A coin that millions owned but few preserved carefully can become surprisingly scarce decades later. This concept is central to understanding why certain 1976 pennies, especially those in exceptional states of preservation, draw attention. Market perception also evolves. What one generation overlooks, another may prize. Coins once dismissed as too modern can gain respect as they cross the threshold from contemporary to historical. The 1976 cent is steadily moving into this territory, bridging living memory and recorded history. Collectors often speak about the hunt, the thrill of searching through rolls, jars, and collections. Even knowing that most finds will be ordinary does not diminish the excitement. The possibility, however small, keeps motivation alive. The broader numismatic market reflects cultural values. As interest in history and tangible artifacts grows, coins benefit from renewed appreciation. They are small, durable, and deeply connected to daily life, making them accessible symbols of the past. The 1976 penny also illustrates how value can be layered. There is face value, metal value, collector value, historical value, and emotional value. These layers interact in complex ways, shaping how the coin is perceived at any given time. Collectors who understand these layers tend to approach the hobby with balance. They enjoy the stories and learning without becoming trapped by unrealistic expectations. This balanced perspective leads to long-term satisfaction. The presence of myths like the $158 million penny continues to circulate, but seasoned collectors see them as part of the culture rather than literal truths. These stories add color and intrigue, even as facts provide grounding. In the end, the 1976 1-cent coin endures not because it is rare in a traditional sense, but because it connects people to a shared past. It is a reminder that history is not only found in museums, but also in everyday objects, and still, the story continues, shaped by each person who pauses long enough to look closely at a simple penny and wonder where it has been. With time, many collectors reach a point where the 1976 1-cent coin is no longer just an object to examine, but a reference point in their own collecting journey. It becomes a reminder of when curiosity first turned into understanding. The more coins someone studies, the more they recognize patterns, and the more the 1976 cent becomes a familiar companion rather than a mystery. The act of handling coins teaches respect for small details. Tiny differences in lettering, spacing, and surface texture can separate ordinary examples from noteworthy ones. This attention to detail carries over into other areas of life, reinforcing patience and focus. The 1976 penny also serves as a lesson in scale. When viewed individually, it seems insignificant, but when considered in the context of billions minted and millions circulated, it becomes part of a massive economic system. Each coin is a single unit in a much larger story. Collectors often find joy in sharing their knowledge. Explaining the history and characteristics of a 1976 penny to someone new reinforces understanding and spreads appreciation. Teaching is one of the most rewarding aspects of the hobby. As technology continues to evolve, future collectors may study these coins using tools we cannot yet imagine. Advanced imaging and analysis could reveal new insights, adding layers to what we already know. The story of the 1976 1-cent coin remains open-ended. It is shaped by research, memory, and imagination. While myths may fade, appreciation endures, and so, the journey continues, one coin at a time. With time, many collectors reach a point where the 1976 1-cent coin is no longer just an object to examine, but a reference point in their own collecting journey. It becomes a reminder of when curiosity first turned into understanding. The more coins someone studies, the more they recognize patterns, and the more the 1976 cent becomes a familiar companion rather than a mystery. The act of handling coins teaches respect for small details. Tiny differences in lettering, spacing, and surface texture can separate ordinary examples from noteworthy ones. This attention to detail carries over into other areas of life, reinforcing patience and focus. The 1976 penny also serves as a lesson in scale. When viewed individually, it seems insignificant, but when considered in the context of billions minted and millions circulated, it becomes part of a massive economic system. Each coin is a single unit in a much larger story. Collectors often find joy in sharing their knowledge. Explaining the history and characteristics of a 1976 penny to someone new reinforces understanding and spreads appreciation. Teaching is one of the most rewarding aspects of the hobby. As technology continues to evolve, future collectors may study these coins using tools we cannot yet imagine. Advanced imaging and analysis could reveal new insights, adding layers to what we already know. The story of the 1976 1-cent coin remains open-ended. It is shaped by research, memory, and imagination. While myths may fade, appreciation endures, and so, the journey continues, one coin at a time. As the journey reaches even deeper levels, many collectors begin to realize that the real reward of studying a coin like the 1976 1-cent is not the destination, but the process itself. Each time the coin is revisited, something new seems to emerge, a different angle of light, a subtle design feature, or a fresh historical connection. What once appeared fully understood slowly reveals that it was never truly finished telling its story. The passage of time changes perspective. A penny that once felt modern gradually becomes antique in feeling. The year 1976 itself shifts from being a living memory to a chapter in history books. As generations pass, first-hand memories fade, and objects like coins become primary witnesses to the past. The physical endurance of the penny is remarkable. Despite its small size and low denomination, it survives decades of handling, travel, and environmental exposure. Each mark it carries is evidence of movement through countless moments of everyday life. In this sense, wear does not only reduce value, it documents experience. Collectors often reflect on how coins connect strangers. A 1976 cent may pass through thousands of hands, linking people who never meet. This silent connection is part of what makes coin collecting feel meaningful beyond numbers and prices. The market will continue to evolve, influenced by economics, culture, and technology. Some coins will rise in value, others will remain stable, but all will retain their historical significance. The 1976 penny occupies a stable place in this landscape, neither obscure nor forgotten. The fascination with extreme value stories persists, yet with maturity comes understanding. The true richness of the 1976 1-cent coin lies not in mythical prices, but in its ability to spark curiosity, learning, and appreciation for history. As this long exploration draws closer to its conclusion, the penny remains what it has always been: small, simple, and quietly powerful in what it represents. At the conclusion of this exploration, the 1976 1-cent coin stands as a testament to the layers of meaning even the smallest objects can hold. It is a coin that has traveled through time, passing through the hands of ordinary people, children, collectors, and curious observers. Each one carries the imprint of history, culture, and economy within its copper surface, connecting the present to the bicentennial year of 1976 and the legacy of Abraham Lincoln that stretches back over a century. The coin's value exists on multiple levels. There is its intrinsic metal content, which links it to the physical and economic reality of the world. There is its numismatic value, shaped by rarity, condition, and errors. There is its historical value, reflecting the time in which it was minted. And there is its emotional and cultural value, which connects individuals to personal memories, national identity, and collective stories. Even in ordinary circulated condition, the 1976 penny reminds us that value is not only measured in dollars. Each scratch, each mark, each subtle toning on its surface tells a story. The subtle difference in copper color, the faint lines of Lincoln's hair, the barely discernible detail of the Lincoln Memorial inside the reverse, all reward the careful observer who pauses to look closely. These are lessons in patience, attention, and appreciation. The myths of extreme monetary value, including the idea of a $158 million coin, have become part of the modern folklore surrounding the penny. While they exaggerate reality, they also capture the imagination, encouraging people to think about possibility and discovery. They highlight the human tendency to dream, to seek fortune, and to value what is overlooked. These stories, though not literally true, enrich the narrative and fuel ongoing fascination. Collectors continue to study, preserve, and celebrate the 1976 cent because it embodies continuity. It links the past to the present, teaching lessons about minting technology, economic history, and the evolution of collecting itself. The careful work of identifying dies, observing toning, evaluating strikes, and understanding grading systems transforms the coin from a simple denomination into a study in precision, history, and artistry. The 1976 1-cent coin is also a reminder of the passage of time. As fewer high-grade examples survive and as older pennies are lost, each remaining coin grows slightly more precious, not just in monetary terms, but as a witness to history. Its journey through wallets, cash registers, and collections captures countless untold stories, making it a silent chronicler of human experience. Ultimately, the coin's greatest value lies in the connections it fosters. It links collectors across generations, teaches curiosity, sparks investigation, and inspires respect for the objects that surround us in everyday life. It is a small, tangible piece of history that rewards those who look closely, study diligently, and appreciate the subtle complexity hidden in plain sight. And so, the 1976 1-cent coin remains more than a penny. It is a symbol of history, craft, culture, and curiosity. It is a reminder that even the smallest objects can contain vast stories, that every mark has meaning, and that discovery can be found in the most ordinary places. From its copper alloy to its Lincoln design, from the millions in circulation to the few preserved in top condition, it endures as a quiet emblem of human history, imagination, and the enduring fascination with what lies hidden in the everyday world.